like to make about the plan, and then we'll get started.
Terrific.
Thank you. Ms. Dunn is exactly right. This is a fairly technical master plan, which is a translation. There are one or two properties where there are maybe a little more points to discuss, but before we get into the details, I wanted to ask Philip Estes and Jamie to talk a little bit about sort of what was our philosophy, how did we go about the translation?
Hi, good afternoon. So we would like to take just a moment to briefly explain staff's methodology and how we determine the recommended zoning. So as you know, the master plan area is a built-out community that was developed under one comprehensive development plan in the town sector zone. The challenge was to find the most appropriate zone for the existing development under different zoning rules. So therefore, staff recommended and the planning board endorsed zones that most closely match what is actually built on the ground, with a goal to preserve the existing development patterns and densities. So in cases where the existing density fell between two possible zones, for example, TLD at 9.07 units per acre and a TMD at 12 units per acre, staff chose a lower density to minimize any actual or perceived changes to the community as part of this effort. We also took a look at the existing site plans that were approved, and those did not account for density that is accounted for in street dedications or shared open space that's found throughout the master plan. These existing public dedications were handled as part of the original development plan with individual site plans fitting into those developable areas. Under today's standards, both street dedications and the open space would be part of the development tracts area and the net density. Staff is confident that if the town sector zone were developed today, the acreage of the development blocks would be larger than what is shown in the existing zoning district tables, resulting in density and building layouts as recommended. Also, we want to note that in keeping with our approach, staff has recommended an overlay zone to address the inevitable consistencies that will result from rezoning such a large area that was developed under different zoning rules than what we're proposing today. So that overlay would address variances in setback and height so that any property made non-conforming would be in effect conforming with the new zone.
So I guess the feeling was you got it right the first time around and you didn't need to re-envision the land use and the zoning. It was basically, you know, what was called for in the existing plan was sufficient. You just needed to translate it. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I think, again, and this gets into a lot of technical discussion, what Philip was explaining is when we did our translation, we were assuming lot sizes that included things like open space and road dedication, not what is actually the platted lot in figuring out density. So, for example, in Ms. Dunn's packet, when you have a column that says, acres, that is the acreage that a particular development, that is the platted lot that a particular development is on. But when it was originally created through the development review process, it actually was required to dedicate land for roads and to dedicate land for open space. And so the original lot size was bigger than these numbers that you see. And so the density per number of units per acre was based on originally a bigger lot size. But now those lots have existed for 40 years or however many years, and they are what we have to work with now. So I think what Ms. Dunn has said is you need to look at the lots that exist today and make the units per acre consistent with the lots that exist today, and not with what may have been done during an earlier development regime. Does that make sense?
We can go through it in detail.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. It's basically, I think what we wanted to explain was in Ms. Dunn's memo, she has a number of different recommendations. And what we wanted to just make sure is that you understand, I think the basis of those different recommendations are these slightly different starting points that we came from. And we honestly see a lot of value in the way Ms. Dunn is approaching it. But we wanted you to sort of understand where we were sort of coming
why they
from
look-
in terms
yeah.
of our original starting points.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let's proceed through the memo.
Great. So as you've heard from planning staff, the plan does recommend new zones, and they base these zones on 3 goals, and they state them as, one is to maintain the residential core, to protect the open space and recreation areas, and to support neighborhoods serving commercial uses. So that's sort of the overriding goals of this plan as it went through the translation. And really today, we are talking about translating zoning. The Churchill Village is a mix of detached houses, townhomes, and multifamilies at varying densities. All the residential properties are covered by homeowners associations. The plan, as you'll see, has been broken into quadrants, and we're going to cover the zoning recommendations by property in those quadrants. And only one of those 4 quadrants has any commercial zoning, and we'll talk about that as well because you did get testimony at the public hearing about that. There are lots of parks, recreation, and open space in this area. There's reference to the Waters Landing Local Park, the Black Hills Regional Park, portions of Little Seneca Lake. They all lie within the plan area, and so there is a lot of attention to keeping these open spaces protected. Again, that'll get into the floating zone, or pardon me, the overlay zone. We'll talk a little bit about that as the implementation section, which is at the very end of the staff report. So to jump right in, on page 2 of the staff report, we talk about the general methodology for the zoning translation. And the biggest one in this plan is going to be translating the residential zones. So if you want to either turn in your plan, or if you want to open the PowerPoint, Jamie, you were down there, maybe that you had shown me from the planning website. On page 27 of the plan, you'll see the 4 quadrants. If you have your plan with you, you'll see that there's northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest quadrants in which the zoning's been broken down. We'll turn the page to 28, and you'll see the northeast district, and you'll see that each of these properties is labeled. What you can think of them as is subdivisions. They are like smaller communities in the area. So, you know, when you see a townhouse community or an apartment complex, they're represented by these numbers.
Townhouse community apartment complex. So we're looking at page 28.
Looking at page 28.
You just
But rather than
point
talk
us to
about
which ones are which.
a specific one right now, in general, I just wanted to cover the translation. So the plan recommends translating the residential neighborhoods based on, it says, based on existing residential land uses and densities. For most properties, the density of existing development has been translated based on a maximum density allowed under the standard method. Although what you will see as we go through these, there are a handful of properties where the recommended zoning from planning staff, the recommended zoning is less than has a density that is less than exists today. And so that will cause these properties to be legal but non-conforming, which has a host of potential issues related to it.
Sorry, I'm looking at page 28, and I see the map, and I see the R30 identified. Mm-hmm. And there's no structures that are
So
shown?
why you're not seeing those, that's a good point, is those are either apartments or condos, so they don't have any lot lines. The gray areas that you see under the green or under the tan, those gray areas are the lot lines for individual properties. But when you see the larger blocks like number 3, number 7, number 8, those are really based on site size, and there's no individual lot for an individual structure.
So there's actually large apartment buildings in
Right.
there.
And so that gets at sort of this, the philosophy for rezoning. If you turn to page 4 of the staff report, you'll see a table that Director Wright has mentioned. And it really just pulls out to show you, again, these handful of properties where the proposed zone, the density for it, and the site size don't match what's there today. So, the first column is the number of existing units. So that's important. The site size is, again, what they provided in the master plan is the size of the area related to that property. And then the calculated density. There's an average lot size that is associated with that. And then you'll see next to that the plan proposed zone, a minimum proposed site size that's associated with that recommendation, and the maximum density associated with that recommendation. And for the ones on this table only, there's 75% of the properties in the plan don't have this issue. They meet the minimum zoning requirements. But for the ones in this table, you'll see that the minimum site size that's required, the minimum is higher than what exists on the ground. And so they're non-conforming already with the size of the site. And they also have a density that is higher than the maximum density of the proposed zone. So those two components of their zoning, their density and their site, aren't going to meet the zoning that's being recommended. Now, there is an overlay that is protective. It's protective of your setbacks, the height. It would allow somebody to reconstruct the same number of units, but it has to remain on the same footprint. So say a property, an apartment building in 10 or 20 years wants to redevelop. If they were to go through this proposed zoning, they would go to a lender who would check their zoning and say, are you in conformance with your zone? The answer would be no. I am legal, but I am non-conforming. I have a site that doesn't meet the minimum site for this zone. If they wanted to retain the same number of units, they could, because they are legal, non-conforming, but they couldn't change anything about that development. If there were environmental things that they encountered, if there was new technologies to provide something different, they couldn't take advantage of it. They'd be constricted to the exact same footprint that exists today to rebuild that same number of units. If they wanted to operate under a conformance with the zone, they'd have to build fewer units because they would have to meet that density.
So are there like a number of communities around the county that have the same problem, or why
I think, for
not a whole
planning
bunch of these?
staff's idea was to try to match, it's odd that we do the process that you're reviewing today, where we go in and say what's existing on the ground and let's pick a zone to match it. Typically, we zone areas and then we want them to develop under that zone, and the zone is more generous than what exists, or more generous than the undeveloped land that exists. So it's kind of a backwards process that we're going through to say, this already exists, but we need to find a zone that exists in the code that fits it well.
Right.
Planning staff tried to pick one that was close in density and site size, but in some cases, just the ones in this table, they were less than. And my concern with it is that they are then non-conforming, and I think that sets up a number of issues for property owners, not so much the townhouses, because they do meet a lot size requirement. If they were to go in and get refinancing or sell to somebody else, the lot at least is conforming, just the
Got that, but why are
Development
we here
doesn't.
today just on this one particular, essentially, not neighborhood, but, area?
Well, I think this issue comes up in each of the districts in one or two properties.
Right.
And we need for you all to make a decision.
What I'm asking is, like, why not the rest of Germantown? Why is it
Oh,
that
because
we're...
this was the only area that was under the town sector zone.
The town
Okay.
sector expired for the Churchill area in 2018.
Okay.
Just like when the council did it for Montgomery Village, it had expired a couple years before that. It's a 50-year
This was
zone.
one of the earliest areas in Germantown to develop. There was this town sector zone, which was an interesting kind of planned unit development kind of zone that was created in the 1960s, and it was used in Montgomery Village, and it was used here. It wasn't used anywhere else in the county. And it created these sort of mixed unit type, mixed use communities.
Right.
Where you had townhouses next to condominiums, next to multifamily.
Right.
With
It's
some
very visionary.
residential mixed in. It was extremely visionary.
Yeah.
And so we, however, eliminated that zone when we did the zoning rewrite, and we substituted instead new zones like the CR zones that have the same capability. But because we eliminated the town sector zone, when this one expired in 2018, we had to go in and say, okay, what would be the correct zones to translate it to? And I think as Pam is describing, there are certain properties where there isn't a perfect translation, where what's on the ground is a little higher than the one zone and much less than the next zone up.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a conundrum. It's trying to decide, do you do the lower zone, in which makes them non-conforming, which is a concern, or do you pump them up to significantly, in some cases, significantly higher zoning classification, just to make sure they're conforming?
And Pam
And-
generally recommended the latter?
I did.
Right.
I recommended, and you can see it on table 4,
you
following
wanna
all the
pump them up?
proposed zoning, it's the conforming zoning densities and minimum site sizes.
Waiting for that.
And our rationale was, although again, I think it was a legitimate rationale, but imperfect also.
Right, there's no right or
was-
wrong,
Yeah, it
and we
was
can-
sort of
we
saying,
can pick our
if you
choice.
included the road dedication that all of these projects would have had to do, their lot sizes actually are bigger. And the per unit density is in conformance with the lower zoning classification. But, again, if they ever did come in to redevelop, we wouldn't probably be reinvestigating road dedications, because those dedications have been done. They've been in public ownership for many, many years. It was more sort of a philosophical way we were trying to approach not bumping things up to the higher zone.
All right.
So that gives you sort of a broad picture of the translation. If you want, now we can go quadrant by quadrant to look at what that means. Is
I
that
think we should do that.
the council?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I understand the philosophical discussion that we're having here. I think it would be beneficial, at least to me, to go through and talk about what the practical consequences are of the options, because I don't think it's an easy discussion to have. I mean, it's a reasonable discussion, but it's not an easy discussion to have unless we have specific operational examples that we can make a decision based off of. At least that's my perspective.
Let's proceed.
Sure. And just in general, quickly, the non-residential methodology for translating zones just looked at commercial zones that were equivalent in use and in development standards to what existed. And there were only a handful of properties to which that occurred. So that was pretty straightforward. So that takes us to the 6th page of the staff report, which starts the property-specific zoning. And the first district to look at is the Northeast District. And this is the one that you're seeing on page 28 of the plan. The map key numbers there on the far left match what's on the map. You have the name of the development, the size of the development in acres, the number of existing units today, the type of units that are there, and then you have the existing density, the plan recommended zoning, the density of that recommended zone, and where that density of the recommended zone was less than what exists today, you'll see a column that shows a conforming zone and the density of the conforming zone. And so it is up to the committee to make a recommendation on, in the cases where the conforming zone doesn't match the recommended, what they want to do.
So we'll look at the Esprit, because that's the one that is,
It's numbers 3, 6, 7, and 8 that have an issue.
I see, all the ones where there's numbers in the
in those
column. And
Last two
so
columns, yeah.
You'll see the difference is expressed here as, is the density of 50, that's per acre, that's the number of
yeah.
units per acre.
Units per acre.
So Pam, this is your recommendation on the far right column?
Correct.
Right, so rather than 15.54.
Well, 15.54 is what exists today.
It's what
So
exists today.
What exists on the
I
ground is
see.
15
And then
point,
it's 14.5 is the planning board, and yours
Correct.
would put it at 21.7.
yeah, it is definitely an increase, but
You're recommending that to allow the building to redevelop as it is presently,
correct.
and there's some risk that without that the building could
They
have
could
an
have
issue.
more
And the-
units
and the-
than exist
and the-
today
and
is
the, you
the
know, the-
worry about that, which, there,
Right.
and if,
Okay, I got
I'm
it.
sympathetic that their worry could be they could then take advantage of open space that the community is now very used to and does create the character of the area, but the overlay does address protecting all of the open space
I
areas.
mean, it seems like we should probably adopt the first do no harm mantra here, and rather than subject them to the possibility of having to, make a disruptive change to to reduce their allowance, we would want to ensure that they could at least keep their allowance. And if that means that we have to bump them up a little bit, I see the logic there. So, okay, I think I get it.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'm comfortable with that too.
Okay.
The do no harm is, I think, the goal here. You shouldn't be zoned out of existence,
have,
basically, but, so yeah, I agree.
But understood the rationale for why it was, as it was, and
There's been no discussion, not having full geography of, I know the general area here, but there's no desire to change anything.
that was kind of what I was asking at the beginning. It's
Yeah.
like, why not?
It's not a transformational, well,
I
it's a
guess we just
translating
didn't start
plan,
off
it is
with
not
that goal.
transformational.
Right, this is all very much of a philosophical discussion. The Esprit, for example, is an existing 216-unit multifamily building. I think it's extremely unlikely that someone is going to come in and say, let me tear down that existing 216-unit multifamily building because I might get an additional
20 units or something.
20 units
Right,
or something.
That's a good point.
But, again, if worst thing happened, the building was hit by a tornado and it disappeared, they could, in theory, come back and build a bigger building because they would
By
be
20
getting the
Under your
zoning,
Right.
right, that would allow them to build a bigger building. But all of this is.
And without this, they'd actually have to build a smaller building.
Well, no, they'd have to build exactly what they had. They could go back and build, when your building is destroyed by an act of God, you can go back and build exactly what you had.
But they couldn't tear down and build larger currently.
Correct. They
Under
could-
your proposal, they'd have to build smaller if
Well,
they just did it on their own.
Right, if they were saying, gee, I just have the idea, I want to tear this building down and build something
makes
new,
sense,
they would have fewer units.
What's the age of, this is 50 years, what's the age
Oh,
of
these
the?
are probably 40
40-ish.
years old, something in that range.
Could redevelop it.
Yeah, there is a table that shows year built
Yeah.
on the page, pretty early in the plan.
Okay.
So this one was built, that one in particular was in the
That's
early
the
80s.
rough age timeline of
Yeah.
most of these.
But in reality, we aren't giving such a big bump
Right.
in density that it would be an incentive, I think, to actually tear something down and build more.
That's questionable. Okay, I think I would agree then with Pam Dunn's assessment. I think that going with the higher makes sense, and realizing that the intention here is just to make sure that there's enough flexibility for
Sufficient density.
everybody. Yeah. Okay.
So if you have no questions on the Northeast District, we'll turn the page to page 7 of the report, which then in your plan, if you'll turn to page 30, you'll see the corresponding map. So again, the map key on the far left of the table shows you the properties. And this is the quadrant that does have the commercial buildings in it. There are 4 properties that are being zoned to either a mixed use or commercial use. The one mixed use is CR, but it is, if you'll notice on your map, the one here next to Father Hurley Boulevard is really just a little strip of land that needs to be zoned consistently. It is not about really redevelopment. And the others match kind of the existing development on the ground and cover them with the corresponding commercial development zone.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds fine. Again, I just want to say, I think I get it now why, you stayed true to what you said you were going to do. That's kind of, that's how you ended up where you are, and
Yeah.
so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
We'll turn to page 8 in the staff report, which is page 32 is the map, which is the Northwest District. There are a number of properties here. You'll see the ones again. There's only 4 where the conforming zone goes up just one zoning category. But this is also the zone numbers 17 and 18 where you received testimony. 17 is the vacant parcel. The Archdiocese owns that parcel. They had their representative come and give testimony that they are supportive of the planning board's recommended CRN zoning for this, and that they don't intend to use it for religious purposes, but they are supportive of possibly a residential development on this site.
That's number 17 on page 8.
17 on 8 or 17
17
on
on page 8.
page 32 of the map. You could also see 17. It's one of 2 purple properties on the map.
Right, gotcha.
And then the one next to it is the Churchill Senior Living property. That's number 18. You also had testimony from that property owner who was requesting additional zoning for their site because they want to provide more senior housing and an urgent care center. And they do have a population of residents who earn below the median income. They really do address affordable senior living in this community. And so there was direction after the public hearing for them to work with planning staff to have a conversation about what that increase could look like and what does planning staff think is appropriate. And so I'm going to let them talk because they had that meeting.
Great.
Yes, we did have further conversations with Churchill Senior Living, and while we are supportive of their additional density, it would have to be changed to a CRT zone with 2.5% or 2.5 FAR. We do want to note that given the site constraints, there's a stream buffer, and the site constraints that is a maximum there, and that it may not be likely that they could achieve that density, but we are supportive of that.
All right, thank you. That's,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, up to 90 feet height.
okay, so
it
it's
would
CRT
be a CRT 2.5 with a height of 90 feet.
up to 90 feet. All right. Thank you for sitting down to the table.
Yeah, and I think we would probably want to have the majority of that 2.5 for residential.
Yeah.
And only a small portion of it for non-residential, because I think the owner has talked about perhaps a, medical facility of some
So
sort
maybe
on the
urgent care,
site.
maybe.
Right, so it could be, to be safe, you could say 0.5 for the C and 2.5 for the R, so that there would be maximum flexibility to keep it all residential if the urgent care did not materialize, but it also would allow for the urgent care if it came about.
Okay, it's 0.5 sufficient, okay. Thank you. All right, glad we got that smoothed out.
It was easy. Any questions on this district?
On this one? Yeah.
I'm very supportive of this. I appreciate the property owner and planning staff coming together on this. Appreciate, I think, got to a good outcome here, and I know they came down on the height, which I think is helpful to be able to achieve what we all want. The opportunity to get affordable senior housing in this part of the county, and frankly in any part of the county, would be a huge asset. And if they're able to provide an urgent care as well, I think that would be an even bigger asset, not just for the facility and for the residents there, but for the local community as well. So I'm excited about that. I just very quickly, just from my own benefit, the original request was CRN. The staff, your recommendation is CRT. Could you just explain why that's the recommendation. I just would be interested in knowing.
Yeah, the maximum height in the CRN does not allow you to go up to 90 feet, so we had to switch to CRT.
Got it. A perfect reason. Okay. Glad, thanks for clarifying that for the record, and appreciate everybody's work on this, and really excited about supporting it. I think it's a really positive development and outcome here.
All right.
All right, basically, I think that that's our last, oh, sorry, another one. Nope, sorry. The table's on the next page. So the Southwest District is actually the last one, and the table for it in the staff report is page 10. The map for it in the plan is page 34. And again, there's only 3 of these properties that will bump to the conforming zone. The rest are all as recommended by the planning board and planning staff. And I don't know if you have it, they're all residential. Oh, I'm sorry, on the next page, there's 3 more, so there's 6. But there's 28 properties in this area.
So I'm fine with the staff recommendation there. All right.
Okay.
Everybody is.
And then the only last thing to mention with this, I will mention it, sorry, I neglected to get it into the staff report, at least as a sentence. I'll include it for council. They did include a small section on roadway classifications that was reviewed by Dr. Orland, and there were no recommended changes there. So that was just for consistency. And they did the carbon analysis, and again, there's no impact for the carbon emissions analysis because the zoning is so close to what exists on the ground today. No transportation changes. So all those things are in order. And then to implement the plan, again, like most master plans, there'll be a sectional map amendment that will come to council. There'll also be the overlay zone, and this is just like Montgomery Village. There'll be an overlay that provides for some grandfathering language that will allow for some flexibility related to lot size and setbacks, because those things aren't always perfectly matched to the zone in cases like this. And it also provides for protections for the open space and recreation areas. So there'll be some protective language regarding uses and regarding easements and platting of those areas.
Okay.
But that'll come to the committee and then to council at some point in the next month or so. But I think that's it, unless the staff has anything else.
Jamie and Philip, your first plan before the council, I believe. So you're ready to take on the rezoning of West Bard again. We're going to do that next. Already working on it. Good. Anything you'd like to share about your experience here? Or here, in general? I give you the floor for a moment if you'd like, or you can.
I have nothing to say.
That's okay. That's okay. I didn't necessarily think you would, but I just wanted to acknowledge your work and say thanks, and thank you.
They're part of our Area 3 team. You don't see the Area 3 team quite as often as some of our other area teams. I want to thank Rich Weaver, who's the chief for Area 3, and we have a acting master plan supervisor who has taken over for Fred Boyd,
Oh.
who some of you may remember, who has retired after many, many years. And our acting master plan supervisor is Ben Herbert.
Hey,
and
Ben.
so you may see Ben more often in the future.
All right, good. Well, Fred was a regular friend and presence, so we look forward to seeing Ben a lot as well.
I do have a question that I
Good.
wanted to go back to on the
Sure.
very last recommendation for Canterbury Apartments, where it goes from
Canterbury?
Yeah, it's on page 11, item 28.
Okay.
You know, what we had recommended was 21.7 units per acre, and by going to that next zone, it's now going to be 43.5. So I didn't know if Pam had, is there a CRN zone that might get us closer to the
There
density?
certainly is. I mean, I think you'd have to make sure that it would fit within the height, and see what the height of the building is. It could
Right,
be
but
CRN or
the R10
CRT.
goes up to-
You could do either one of those with a 0 commercial density if you want to. Want us to work together to find something like that, and I think that's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
And
just
what
bring
was the
that
height
with
there?
us.
To your point about height, could you
My
build-
guess
could you
is
build it
there's
anywhere?
500 of these units on 23 acres. It's probably 3 or 4 story garden apartment. I don't think any of these are taller than 3 or 4 stories. So it would probably be fine within, CRN is a 65-foot limit. It would probably be fine within the CRN zone.
Yeah, and the R10s and the R20s have 100-foot limits, so it's not really, from a compatibility standpoint, maybe the best choice of zone. So for Canterbury, we can work with.
Yeah, we'll agree on a CRN
East Dunn
zone.
on a CR zone that
Could
would
I
be
just
better.
ask, Mr. Chair, what is the, what's like the market rate cost of these apartments in this area?
They're very affordable. I was looking online for some of the information because trying to figure out, just in general, I wanted to see not only from the plan, like, oh, this is what the lot lines look like. What does this unit look like? This is the only place I've seen this. I'm just going to bring this up quickly. I know we're out of time, but the only place I've seen where they did a stick of townhouses that were a row of townhouses and back to back were townhouses on the other side. So I just thought that was fascinating to have, back to back townhouses. Anyway.
We can come back at the full
But
council and ask.
they're very reasonable. I mean, you could get probably.
They're not under restriction.
No, I actually looked,
No.
I talked to DHCA because of some of the, I wanted to make sure, okay, if, were any of these built with MPDUs, were these optional method projects, whatever. And out of all the ones that I sent her, which were the ones that I was concerned with the density, I think only 2 had MPDUs. The rest were all, they'd either expired or didn't
maybe
get
it's
built with
full.
MPDUs.
Probably what happened, since these were developed in the 70s, they may have been in that first wave of MPDUs that only lasted for, I believe,
15, maybe?
15 or
Right.
for a lesser number of years than the 99 years we now require. But we can, when we come back to the full council, we can ask Lisa, our housing planner, to find out what the average
Great.
rents are.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to know, this big jump made me think of it. If we're going to do that and they're at the point of where they could redevelop at some point, we might want to,
Might be
and
nice
they're
to
not
have
under
that.
restriction. So I think it's actually good to keep them close to where they are in the technical plan, to reserve that ability
Right.
down the line potentially as we're trying to achieve our COG housing goals. We want to, so I would, on this one, and I don't think there are any others, I did a quick scan, that are this far off.
Right, it was just this one
Yeah,
is
and
unique.
so, okay, but yeah, that would be helpful.
I got 2-bedroom, 1 bath from 1,400 to 1,700 at the,
Yeah.
if this is the correct one, at the.
It's about
the Bainbridge
Canterbury
owned
Apartments.
Canterbury Apartments on
Yeah.
Sweet Gum Circle.
Okay. All
I
right,
don't-
but yeah,
I don't
that
know
would be
what
helpful.
I don't know what that tells me exactly, that rental rate, that's
That's
affordable.
pretty affordable, yeah.
walkable to Germantown Town Center.
Town center, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say to my colleague, if you are thinking that you want to propose anything in light of that information, we would need to take that back up at committee. I don't know what that would be, but, so please,
are we talking
give that some.
Oh, no, I'm not proposing anything.
Okay.
I just don't want it to be dramatically upzoned with no requirements and
To really provide, none of this is to provide any incentive
Right.
Well, it
to
would
tell
have
people
requirements
to
'cause it would
tear
have
down and
MPDUs.
well,
start
under
over.
current, yeah. What I mean, not without my, what I'd like to be
The
my
Jawando stamp
the
on it.
Jawando precedent. But I know, I just think if the plan is to
There is no
just.
Jawando precedent.
Okay.
You have yet to form one on private property.
Okay, all right. But, I think you get my point. It would just keep it conforming to what it was initially meant to be. But it would be nice to know that information when you come back to full council, but I'm not proposing anything.
Okay. Thank you very much.